Suppose you win a lottery. What are you going to do with that? Well, you can do a lot with winning a lottery, isn't it? You can spend that money wisely, invest it, and do a lot of things. But that's not the lottery I'm talking about. The lottery that I'm referring to is actually an acronym, which is going to help you as a learner, as a professional, every single day of your life. Okay. It's a lottery system, which I follow, which I believe is going to be useful for all of you. So what exactly is the lottery system? So the lottery system that I'm talking about is LOTRI, which stands for listen, observe, travel, read, and interact. Let me explain that to you step by step. The first one, of course, is listen. Now, we all know that listening is an important skill and it will always remain an important skill. Therefore, very critical that when you're discussing or having a conversation with people, you listen to what people have to say intently. The very famous management guru, Stephen Covey, very rightly said that most people listen with an intent to reply, not with an intent to understand. So the next time you find yourself in a conversation, try to be more conscious of the fact that you got to listen more as compared to how much you talk. Because the more you listen, you get to know about the other person. You get to know about his or her ideas, the way the other person thinks, and several other ideas that you may not have ever thought existed. So listen more. That's very, very critical. Use your 2 ears more than your mouth. Number 2 is observe. Now, what do I mean by that? We all know the apple fell, but Newton was the first one to ask why. Perhaps the reason he asked why is because he was observing. He was not just looking at things. Most of us look at things from a peripheral level, and therefore we don't internalize what we see happening in front of us. Let me give you an example for this. There was a medical institution where a surgeon was training all students how to perform a surgery. So there was a corpse in front of them, and they were all learning the tricks of how to perform a surgery. And then the chief surgeon, the teacher, started performing the surgery. And in the middle of the operation, he removed his hand gloves and he raised his finger, and he then inserted his finger in the nose of the corpse, the dead body. Looking at which all the students felt absolutely disgusted. They said, oh my God, what is this person doing? Has he got any idea? So on and so forth. And then he removed the finger, and then he inserted the finger in his own mouth, which even further disgusted the students. They thought, this guy has lost it. Now, it was not yet over, because then the surgeon said, so my friends, you all saw what I did. Now I want you to exactly repeat what I did. Listening to which all students just froze, because they saw that this was disgusting and none of them wanted to repeat this. But they had no other option, so they had to. So they all reluctantly, one by one, inserted their finger in the nose of the corpse, the dead body. And then the surgeon said, okay, go on, go on. Now you need to insert the finger in the mouth. And they removed the finger. They were just about to insert the finger in their mouth. And the surgeon said, stop. He said, you're all idiots. And they looked at each other, and then they surprisingly looked at the teacher, the surgeon, and they asked, why do you say so? He said, you just saw what you wanted to see, but you never observed me. I inserted my index finger in the corpse's nose, but when I inserted the finger inside of my mouth, it was my ring finger. It was a different finger altogether. Now, this happens to most of us, is that we see things only for the sake of seeing them. We don't observe. Now, what is the distinction between seeing and observing? Is that when you see, it is an involuntary act. But when you observe, you're minutely looking at every piece of detail and you're internalizing it. So the next time perhaps you are in a client meeting, or you are in a meeting with your colleagues, or you are having a conversation with someone, or you're standing at the airport or waiting for the train at the railway station, it's an opportunity for you to observe what is happening around you. Minute detailing of everything is an essential skill that will separate you from the rest of the crowd. So next time, don't just watch, try to observe. That's rule number 2. Rule number 3, travel. Now, who loves to travel? I suppose all of you. And it is very rightly said that the world is a book, and those who do not travel just read one page of this book. Now, why is traveling such an important skill? More than a skill, it's a way of life. So the more you travel, you get the opportunity of exposing yourself to different cities, to different places, and most importantly, to different people and cultures. Therefore, every experience of travel that you have in your life is a memorable experience. In fact, no travel experience can be labeled as being good or bad, because every travel experience makes you a wiser person. So when you get an opportunity to travel, please do travel. And there should be different modes of travel. Sometimes you'll travel by flight, sometimes you'll take the train, sometimes you'll take the bus, sometimes you'll drive in your own car. And there could be some other modes which we haven't even thought about. So the fact is, where you travel, how you travel will teach you a lot about yourself. It will expose you to uncertainties that you haven't predicted yet. And that is why traveling is an essential skill. The complications involved in travel will make you a smart individual, will keep you in good stead as a professional, and will increase your self-confidence. Also, it might be a good opportunity, especially if you're a full-grown adult and you can take care of yourself, to travel alone. When you backpack and go by the countryside, look around things, explore things, meet people, that's a wonderful opportunity for you to build confidence and also increase your experience repertoire. So rule number 3 is travel. What's number 4? Number 4 is one of my personal favorites, but not such a popular measure amongst the masses, which is to read. Now, I know a lot of people do not like to read, but if you do, it's an excellent habit that you've developed yourself. You deserve a pat on the back for that. But just in case you don't like to read, I think it's important to try and acquire the habit to read. So anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes every day to begin with is a good way of investing knowledge. And that knowledge will help you gain a lot of rich insights. So what is it that you should read? Read everything, anything and everything that you want to read. But more so, when you read for fun or just to spend time all by yourself, you might want to read something which is fictional, more like a novel. But if you want to read with an intention or an objective of acquiring knowledge that can help you in different scenarios, then you may want to read biographies or autobiographies or even business books, right? So read a variety of books. When you read consistently, that adds to your knowledge and you have a dialogue with your own self. So reading is a habit which has no other substitute. Okay. Also, it might be worthwhile to try and read people's minds at times, which is to read people like a book, which means you need to spend more time with them. And that brings us to the last and final philosophy of the LOTRI method, which is to interact with people. Because when you interact with people, you get an opportunity to peep into their hearts and read their minds. When you interact, you have an opportunity of connecting with people, building relationships with people. Unfortunately, these days, because of the amount of social media exposure that we are only connecting with people in a virtual way, which I think somehow takes away the human part of the entire conversation. Conversations are interesting, they're intriguing, they're fascinating. So the next time you find yourself at an airport or a railway station or a bus depot, wherever you are, try to connect with people, strike a conversation. Now, there is every possibility that the other person may not be interested in talking with you, which is perfectly all right, understood. But wherever possible, when you have time, try to have a conversation with people around you, interact with them, because interaction helps you build better network. And that will always be a great investment that you can make in the time that you're spending. So once again, here's a LOTRI method for you. The LOTRI method stands for 5 things, 5 simple ideas that you can apply every single day of your life. What is it? The first one is L, which stands for listening. Listen really well, talk as less as possible, listen more. Number 2 is observe. Don't just see things. Try to observe. Look at the nuances, the minute details which others might miss out. The third is travel. Remember, the more you travel, the more you become wiser. Expose yourself to a variety of situations and people and culture. Always a wonderful way to acquire more knowledge. Number 4 is to read. Although it might not be fascinating to begin with, but even small steps towards reading can help you acquire a lot of new knowledge, new information, and you will have a dialogue with your own self. And last but not the least is to interact. Because when you interact with people, you have conversations with them, you learn about them, about yourself, and you gain a lot of new experiences which you never had earlier. So this is the lottery that you want to encash for yourself. So don't hold back. Try the lottery method every single day. And I would suggest if you can apply the lottery method in bits and pieces, some time of the day you spend in reading, some time of the day you spend in conscious listening, some time of the day you spend in traveling, you can do a lot with your own life. So try this and tell me if you're able to encash the lottery. I suppose you would. All the very best.